Guys, welcome to Erewhon. Thank you for tuning in. This is 50 years. Erewhon's been around, serving the community and being here and feeling good and always rediscovering the old ancient traditions or something that's new or if there's a spin on something. I'm here with Magali from Kitchen Witch, Bone Broth, or Broth, and we are gonna break myths. We're gonna talk about the beauty of broth, beauty of micro minerals and all the beautiful things inside of bone broth and what it does for the body. And we're gonna start now. What you guys, is this a trend or is this a what is the deal with this bone broth craze?
That's a good question. I like that we've started there. We get that question a lot. Is it a trend? Is it going to end? Is it, is it just like another superfood? The way that I like to think about bone broth is really twofold, and they kind of fit in together. I think we all remember when fermented foods popped onto the scene. It was kombucha and then sauerkraut. Now we have kefir and all of the probiotic craze, as it was called.
Gut
back
health
then.
Craze, really. I mean, it's
right, and it started with probiotics and all things like that. And at the time, I actually worked for Farmhouse Culture for a long time, who's carried here in Erewhon, one of the...
Farmhouse is great, yeah.
Yeah, Farmhouse is one of the best sauerkraut companies, and I remember when that was happening, and I remember handing out sauerkraut and people being like, what?
Yeah.
No way. Like, my grandmother used to keep that in the basement. I'm not going to have that. That's disgusting. And here we are, 7 years later, and everyone's eating sauerkraut and everyone's focused on probiotics. So the way that I see bone broth fitting into that is that, there are certain foods that are fundamental. And probiotics are one of those, fermented foods are one of those, ubiquitous across all cultures.
Yeah.
Broth is also ubiquitous across all cultures. Cultures near the equator, cultures, further north, they all have a broth tradition. And this goes way, way, way back.
Like 2,000-3,000 years, something like that? Or?
I mean, I don't know the exact day on it, but what I would imagine is that once our ancestors could cook over a fire in a vessel, they were going to use the bones.
They're using everything.
Right, and before that, if they weren't cooking the bones in water, they were probably chewing on them and getting all the cartilage off of them. We know they were splitting them open to get all the marrow out of them.
Yeah.
And then broth becomes a more, convenient way to get it all in one place and then to uptake
so it's not a trend, it's just being rediscovered
again. It's being rediscovered.
And let's talk about gut health. Like, let's talk about 7-8 years ago when fermented coconuts and now it's a big thing. It's been a big thing with Erewhon since forever, but now everyone's really seeing how it's affecting people's lives. Let's talk about immunity, gut health, hormones. If you know anything about the levels of serotonin levels and things like that.
Yeah.
Like how does gut health affect your life in general?
Gosh, I mean, it's almost a cliche now, and for good reason. But the quote that goes around all over, Hippocrates said, "All disease begins in the gut," right? And so now we know that most of the foundation of our health is found in the gut, and that's to say in the health of the gut, which is of course caused by what you put into the gut. And there's also the analogy that I love that's like we're like a donut.
Yeah.
We're open from the top to the bottom, and we're only really, it's like the outside world from top to bottom.
Yeah.
And we just absorb into our body, and our body should be really discerning. And the discernment happens in the gut. Small intestine mostly, large intestine as well. And so if you have lived a life that has constantly assaulted your gut, whether it's by, we can start at the beginning.
Because
right? Start at the beginning. C-section rates are hugely high, so we're not getting that dose of vaginal flora. Breastfeeding rates are really, really low. We're not getting all of the colostrum that we need. Maybe the baby gets antibiotics in the first year of life,
So you're already starting at a handicap because gut health is based on how well you absorb nutrients as well, and if that's not corrected.
So if you're compromised from the beginning, you're going to be compromised all the way down the line. And what we're finding is that most chronic disease has a basis in inflammation. Where does most inflammation occur and perpetuate itself? In the gut.
In the gut, yeah.
And so we, as modern humans, have to take into account what the industrialized age has done to our bodies. So this is where, when I'm teaching and when I'm talking to the community about this, you can easily get into the weeds and kind of lose people. But the whole point is that what we're living in right now, the modern age that we're living in, is a huge assault on our gut. From, you know, back generations, we can think about what happened with our grandmothers and pesticides that they were ingesting, and then all the way down to us now. You know, we're compromised in a way that we never have been before. And so
absolutely.
Yeah. And it's constant. I mean, we're here in LA and the air quality is not great, and so we're constantly ingesting pollutants, and so we have to mitigate
And plus the way that we're combining foods and then the way our enzymes work, we're overtaxing our
already compromised gut.
Already overtaxing, so that's affecting the adrenal glands and blood production.
Exactly.
So the whole system just starts to break down, right?
The whole system.
That's amazing. I'm excited to talk about this. Because you know what? I like waking up feeling good every day. I like going to bed and having a deep sleep.
Yeah.
And people are always asking, what cleanse should I do? How should I change my life? And I say, first of all, take a few things out. Things that are causing inflammation, like you said. You know, try to take out gluten. Try to take out dairy. Try to take out the alcohol and the sugar.
Oh, you go for it. I like this.
You got to. But, you know, because then when you feel really good, I always tell people you're getting high on life.
Yeah.
And you know, when I started getting in, you know, I've been into broths and out of broths my whole life because, you know, you got mom making you broth.
Yeah.
You know, you're always making broth, right?
My grandmother, I mean, I this is funny, sorry to interrupt you, but I've thought about this so many times since we had the company. When we would go to my grandma's house, there was always soup in the fridge. Always. Yeah. And I always, like as a kid, it just didn't occur to me, but we had to scoop it out of the container because it was so gelatinous.
Oh, yeah, that's awesome.
And I didn't ever think about it. You never poured it. You had to scoop it.
And
heat now I realize, thank you, Grandma, that she was, you know, making real broth.
Absolutely.
And so it was so gelatinous that it was like, oh, I gotta like get it out of here.
That's awesome. So when you start discovering, like you said, like when you start discovering health, radiance, living, you start to get addicted to the good stuff. So let's go. Let's talk about gelatin. Or gelatin. Okay. Let's talk about, because let's talk about the main things that you get out of bone broth. And let me see if I can do this.
Yeah.
Is gelatin, collagen. You get colostrum. No, I'm sorry, not colostrum. Chondroitin, glucosamine, micronutrients, minerals, enzymes. No, because you cook them.
You don't get enzymes, but this is like it's the feedback loop. It encourages
enzyme production.
Yeah.
Yes. And then what else am I missing? Those are the main things, right?
Those are really the main things, and what I love about that whole list is that it's all about the synergy, right? And we can go into collagen, we can go into gelatin and all that, but my key point when I'm teaching is that bone broth is so special because you're getting it in its original form, and you're getting it as a synergistic product. You know, you can separate out all those things that you get from it, but to get it in that, you know, alchemy,
full synergistic thing,
that's what your body really wants, and that's how the absorption happens, and that's how you really uptake it into your cells. And yes, there are these, you know, incredible components of it.
When you break it down,
and the most important and the most, you know, buzzy in all the bone broth world, of course, is collagen/gelatin. Now, collagen is, a lot of people get that confused. Is it collagen or is it gelatin? Is it collagen hydrolysate? Is it collagen peptide? Is it, you know, gelatin? So they are one and the same. Collagen is how do I explain this? When you see, like, for example, Vital Proteins, awesome company, also in Erewhon. They have gelatin and they have the collagen peptides. And the collagen peptides are basically a further processed product that don't gel when cold. They dissolve in water. Okay. But the whole point is that the collagen or the gelatin, in bone broth it's going to be, we call it gelatin because it gels when cold. That's the protein.
Okay.
That's what gives a good bone broth a really high protein content.
Okay.
And that is where a lot of the healing properties come from, is in this gel. Because if you look at gelatin, you know, and just when it's cold, you look at Jello, you look at a good bone broth, anything that has gelatin in it, it's thick, right? It's gelatinous, it has structure.
Yeah.
And two things. One, we're made of an incredible amount of collagen. Pretty much any part of your body that's flexible and skin-like, a ligament, a joint,
has the elasticity.
Likewise, inside of your bones is collagen. It's just a different type. And so we are trying to replace that by taking in collagen and gelatin. Yeah. Okay. So again, it's a protein, and in a bone broth form, when it's gelatin, it's so luscious and good for your body, particularly your gut, because it has the elastic form that coats all of the microvilli in your intestine and soothes it. And a really cool point.
And it pulls the inflammation down.
Exactly. It cools them. It like cools them and calms that inflammation and fills in. So if you think about your gut and it being inflamed, it's like it's all puffed up, right? And so there's all these spaces in between the cells where there shouldn't be. This is where inflammation comes from. Things that shouldn't get through those cells get through because they're so puffed up. Gelatin comes and fills those spaces and makes you more discerning.
Calm, grounds you.
Yeah, literally, like on the deepest level.
Yeah, I know.
On the deepest
that's awesome.
level. Yeah. So that's the protein aspect of broth, and that's why a lot of people use it as a meal replacement because it's a liquid that feels very light, but it also is filling.
It's very filling.
It's very filling.
It is.
Yeah.
So cleansing then. Let's talk about like, okay, you know, how do you feel about cleansing and broths and what the whole, you know, cleanses? I mean, everyone says they're an expert on cleanses, and I've got my idea on what I think cleansing is.
Yeah.
But what do you think about cleansing and
let me
broths?
start by saying I was a raw vegan for a long time, and that's where I learned about cleansing.
Vegan power.
Vegan power.
I love vegan power.
I mean, I felt great when I was vegan. Raw vegan was super fun. I loved the process of all that food. But that's where I really learned about cleansing. And it's a good word. At Kitchen Witch, we use the word reset rather than cleanse, just because
I like that word.
It's really what I try to do with my clients and what I try to teach in the community at all my classes is like, I think the word cleanse is super useful because of everything we talked about before, right? The modern human is bombarded with a whole bunch of stuff that we cannot even see. And so it does behoove us to cleanse it out. Also, resetting to me really says something about the gut. So my idea about a cleanse or a reset is really, the whole idea for me is about optimizing your physiology. It's less about like, I'm dirty, get me clean.
Yeah.
It's more like, okay, I know how the liver works. I know how the gallbladder connects to the liver. I know that that's how we detox in our body. It's one of the mechanisms. So how can I focus for a few days or a week or 10 days on optimizing the physiology within my body?
Right? And what is if you were to give that elevator speech on how do you optimize the body? Because we want to give the liver and the gallbladder a chance to actually do its work instead of being bombarded with digesting food in the middle of the night.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
What should you do?
Modern human, take a break from eating.
I agree.
Take a break from eating and uptake. This is why I made the Kitchen Witch cleanse. Take up just what you know is soothing. We know you have inflammation.
It's not about starving yourself. I don't know why people always think it's about starving yourself, and if you're thinking about weight, you're doing it for the wrong reason.
Exactly.
In my opinion.
Exactly. And I think that's where, you know, some particular juice cleanses have made this whole like cleanse arena. A lot of people have a stigma against it because, you know, that can be really triggering. Yeah. But for me, again, it's about optimizing the physiology, and the number one thing that I can say is cool your inflammation.
Yeah.
You need to cool your inflammation. Once your inflammation is cooled, it's like this whole other, you know, like gas tank of energy that's being given to the inflammation.
And I can't say enough, inflammation is the root of all disease, period. Yeah. And I say that all the time to everyone I work with, to my community, and they start thinking, oh, well, you know, coffee, a little inflammation there. Sugar,
my anger
inflammation
in the car,
there.
I'm driving,
Anger, stress.
Sugar,
It's all inflammation.
It's all inflammation. And so this is something that I say a lot to my clients and when I'm teaching. I cannot guarantee that anyone is going to take their supplements. I can't guarantee that they're going to knock down their stress. I can't guarantee that they're going to do yoga, that they're going to meditate, that they're going to exercise. I can't guarantee any of that. I can guarantee that they're going to eat, or else they would die.
Yes.
And so the cleanse or reset is a way to say, take a break from your normal schedule, give yourself the ultimate nourishing foods in relatively small amounts, and just chill out. Take a break, soothe. And it's easy, and it feels amazing.
That's awesome.
I've done our cleanse like
I think it's a great way to look at it.
A bunch of times.
Yeah.
And I every time I'm like, oh man, This is why I started this. This is why
I do a lot of mini day cleanses. Like, you know, I just go, you know, today I'm gonna drink some broth. I'll have a little juice, get a little spirulina chlorella in my life, and I, you know, I keep it simple, a lot of water, you know, and I do that intermittently. But my diet's, I have a 95% pretty cool diet, you know. And it's not a diet; it's just what I do. It's about living, and it's about, like I said, going to bed, sleeping well, waking up, feeling good, having your head about yourself all day.
And the easiest way, in my opinion, to perpetuate that feeling good is just by, you know, looking at what you're eating. It's the lowest hanging fruit. That's what I always tell my clients. Diet is not everything. Of course not. What you eat is not everything. I don't like the word diet either. But it's the lowest hanging fruit.
So, bone broth, real quick. I want to hit one thing on bone broth,
which
really like inspires me on bone broth is, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I might be wrong, is that if you're not your intestines, you're not absorbing all the nutrients if your microvilli aren't capturing all the nutrients from all this beautiful food that you're putting in your body. So I think a lot of people are at risk because they're not absorbing everything. They're putting all this money into buying these super awesome conscious foods, and then they're not absorbing it. And I know, and I'm pretty sure bone broth in its complexity helps repair that mechanism activation of absorbing nutrients. Can you break that down for me?
Yeah. I see that
that excites me.
Yeah. And what's really cool
that excites me.
What's really, really cool about that, it's like a bunch of things in my head exploding, but what I really love, and maybe this is because I'm an acupuncturist and all of that, but I really love that cross-cultural aspect. And so what you're saying, in so many cultures, they'll have broth before they eat to enhance their nutrient absorption.
That's cool.
Right? Which leads to the next point. How does it enhance nutrient absorption? Two ways.
Macrobiotics, they do that all the time, right? You know, they're always having the broth. And,
exactly. Or, you know, you'll have your soup first.
Soup first, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So,
two ways.
Have it first before you eat. You don't need to, but again, we're talking about the cross-cultural aspect. Why? Because when you put broth into your belly, it turns on your pancreas, which dumps a bunch of enzymes into your digestive tract. It turns on your liver and gallbladder, which dumps a bunch of bile into your digestive tract. And it stimulates your stomach because it's protein. It's not just liquid.
Yeah.
It's protein.
Yeah.
So basically, the pancreas, the stomach, and your liver, gallbladder all get turned on, and they dump into your small intestine, right? And so now your body, you know, it's like when you think about something sour and you kind of salivate. That's a really physiological reaction your body is preparing. And so you know when you have that reaction, or you know when you have your cup of bone broth, that you basically created like this little pool of digestive juices that then sits just like waiting for food.
Ready to go.
I'm ready, I'm hungry, you're thinking about food, you know, and that broth is coming in and it's just preparing it, right? So you have all of this digestive juice that when you actually put your chewable food in, it encompasses it and helps to break it down. So as opposed to if you were eating something that is difficult to digest, or something really cold, or something that doesn't really work for you as an individual, you don't have any digestive juices ready for that. You know, it lands in there and you feel kind of like a brick in your belly. It takes a long time for it to digest. You might get constipated. You might have loose stools because your body's trying to get it right out. Bone broth can really help with that. So we actually see this a lot with cancer patients.
Okay. So real quick with I wanted to say, but no, you're killing it. What about the vegans out there? Because but as far as like, you know, you've got these cool vegan broths too. How do you get the same effect that you just mentioned with the vegan broths, and how does it work, and what are you missing, and do you need to add anything to it?
Okay, well, that's two questions, because vegans can absolutely get the same effect because they have the same physiology. It's just about understanding the physiology, right? So how can a vegan turn on their, like, for example, if they're going to eat a bunch of beans and beans maybe don't make them feel so great, there's a couple of ways. You can have what I call it a morning shot, but you can have it anytime, and that's basically just a bitter or sour shot of something like apple cider vinegar. You could put apple cider vinegar into
which you guys do with your broths. Apple cider vinegar.
We do distilled organic white vinegar in all of our broths. We don't do apple cider vinegar because it leaves a funny flavor. But so a vegan could put something like that in the broth to further enhance that. Just because really high protein foods like meat or cheese or things like that, those are going to demand the most enzymes of the body. And so it is thought that when you're vegan, your enzyme production gets a little bit lower because you don't have these big protein loads to digest. And so you can really enhance that for yourself, just like anybody else who's a non-vegan, by, again, taking a bitter or sour shot, by even just having warm broth is going to turn on your digestive juices. Or you could also take digestive enzymes, which are extremely helpful.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
So, okay. So, broths. Is there any questions? Are there any questions out there? No questions? Everybody's back and hitting it hard on Saturday. That's what's going on, probably. everyone's. I think it's funny because everybody, they, it's the new year. Everyone's talking about all these resolutions, and I think what you're saying is just reset. Don't think you have to, completely change your whole world and lifestyle, but dip your toes in it and start trying things, especially something like this. Now that you have the education, that you, that you've heard everything, and if you haven't heard it, rewind and go back and listen to this awesome conversation, because we're really breaking down what bone broth and this time-tested ancient tradition, which is just part of our lifestyle, can do for your body. And we want to absorb all our nutrients, and we want to turn on our gut. We want to turn on, as you know, at the beginning of this thing, we're talking all about the gut, which is an amazing, thank you so much for, shedding some light on that. And you're really inspired. I think this company's extremely inspired, like Erewhon. And I think that's what it is. We're trying to feed our inspiration here. And I think if, you're not going to be creative if your body, your physiological body is not tuned. Because I think when that starts to tune in,
you can't rely on coffee forever.
No, and it all starts to, then it just all starts to tune in. Your awareness, your situational awareness, your cognitive awareness, your physical self, spiritual self, your everything, your sexual life, everything. It all gets turned up, as she likes to say, or turned on. Turned on.
Either way.
Turn on the pancreas, turn on the liver. And thank you.
Yeah, I did get, Rhiannon got a couple
we got some.
You get on this.
I like it.
Here. So, okay, first question. I have IBS. Will this help? That's easy.
Yeah.
The answer is yes. IBS is, of course, that's a really broad term that covers a whole bunch of stuff, but it's basically like, I eat and I get really bloated, I might get really constipated, and then it'll turn into diarrhea, and I kind of go back and forth. And it's amazing how many people suffer from this who you wouldn't really think it, because it doesn't actually make you sick or ill. It's just this disturbance that you get really used to. I probably would have been diagnosed with IBS back in the day before I changed what I eat and I changed my lifestyle. But bone broth, of course, will help with IBS a lot in the context of an anti-inflammatory diet and lifestyle. So it's never the answer for everything, but it will absolutely enhance and it'll help repair some of that damage. Another question that we got was, is a cleanse right for everyone? And I think that's a really great question, because people are dealing with a lot of different stuff in their lives. I mean, on the Kitchen Witch cleanse, and I'm sure you're going to see this too with the Erewhon cleanse, you'll see people who want to do it because they're going through cancer treatment. Should you do the cleanse if you're going through cancer treatment? It's a really individual question, and at the same time, I know that when you're doing a bone broth cleanse like the ones that we offer and the ones that Erewhon offers, we're giving people this beautiful baseline of nutrition. And it doesn't worry me for almost anyone to do our cleanse. It makes me so excited to think of this wide swath of people, cancer patients, autoimmune patients, people who are just trying to, start the new year off right, teenagers who want to make a change in their diet. I love the idea of this huge, really diverse group of people doing this reset.
Yeah.
Because it really is for everyone.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So is there anything else you want to leave us with there's no myth about bone broth, and if it's a trend or a fad or anything like that. It's been around forever. You do it, like she said, we're eating soups, before our meal, and there's a reason for that. It's just it's imprinted into our DNA. Now we're going to hyper focus on it and hopefully make this part of everyone's lifestyle going forward. Is there anything else you want to leave us with, cleansing and broths or anything that you wanted to hit? Or you have a question for me?
I didn't know the Erewhon was 50 years old.
50 years old.
First of all.
1968. Start off as macrobiotic, full macrobiotic. Yeah, it's been a beautiful store.
That's right.
Yeah, and we wouldn't be here without you. These awesome, beautiful small vendors that have a passion for life and living, and we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the customers. And now that we're opening up for Santa Monica and we're slated for downtown now.
Really?
Yeah, slated for downtown.
Erewhon takeover.
We're just having fun. We're just
Mecca.
having fun. Well, as long as we can do this, and this is my heart is small companies that are sourcing and they're transparent and have a true story to tell and have wonderful people like you guys running it.
Well,
that's amazing.
I'll counter all of that by saying we're so excited to be in Erewhon. It's like absolutely a dream come true for me. It is the Mecca. Like my favorite place to be is in a grocery store. It's where I go to calm down. It's like where I go to just see what's going on in the world. It's my passion, and to be in Erewhon is like, what? Really? I'm in Erewhon?
It's
our little baby broths that we've made, at home for a long time, and they've made it. And what I will leave you all with is, in terms of bone broth, yes, and in terms of the food that you eat. I mean, look at the little guys, because most likely they're doing it right. And I know that on the Kitchen Witch side, we are completely dedicated to our integrity. We've never compromised, and we never will. We'd rather shut her down than change the way that we do things.
It's 100% or just shut the doors.
Yep.
I'm the same way. Can't live life any other way. Got to get the most out of life, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's why you should take care of yourself. That's why you take care of it. Yes, exactly. I think it's a good note to leave it on.
Yeah.
And guys, thank you so much. Thank you. Mwah.